Hi, everyone. It's Matt from rootstosky.com here, providing you a bit more of a background summary since this, obviously, the COVID situation has dramatically escalated in the past week, especially since my first very impromptu video. I recognize that one was very quick and off the cuff. I had just answered a number of client questions, so I thought I would just quickly put out a video while the information was still fresh. And the cool thing is that pretty much most of it, if not all of it, still rings true. So feel free to check it out again. But this video will be much more focusing on the article that I've put out. Since then, it started small and with very few links, and then obviously as this past week has gone on, I've dove deeper and deeper into resources, especially on the Chinese medicine front. I've got into a few debates, which have made me remain very confident in my training and my ability to do research. So while I can't claim myself to be an expert, it really has sharpened my abilities to remain kind of like on top of what I feel is the latest research and the most importantly, the effectiveness of preventative measures. So yeah, so I'll be providing much more about what I'll be doing specifically, like how I can help you and help you help others at the end of this video. So, but the purpose of this video specifically is a bit more of a summary of the things that I have been posting there, just because I recognize that a little bit that point form resource page is it can be a little bit intimidating or confusing possibly, but basically I just think that it's probably best that a summary is in order at this point now that it's pretty much been wrapped up, and I might obviously will still be adding some extra things as I come across them, especially in the days and weeks to come, but the bulk of the page is in a relatively complete format. So just before I dive in case you haven't seen it, that is rootstosky.com/COVID. So yeah, let's dive in here. But before, actually, well, yeah, I just want to also stress though, before I really dive in, that when I have been actively promoting online, going outside for walks and things like that. And while no one has specifically called me out on it, because I think it's pretty clear, I'm going to call myself out on this point and let it be known that like what I've been saying all along is to go outside with your kids, go for a walk around the block, go play in your backyard, go for a walk in the woods if you have any nearby. I'm obviously not recommending going outside to crowded public spaces. That's not at any point what I ever meant by that. So I just want to be crystal clear on that point. The air is not toxic. This is a lung disease, and you should probably be strengthening your lungs and using your lungs to their full potential and really enjoying what it means to really be breathing right now. So please get outside, get some fresh air, play with your kids, go for walks. The air is not toxic. So that's that. So what I would want to start here with is the Chinese medicine side of things, just to be, because I understand generally for most of the you and the general public and stuff, that might seem a little bit confusing. So I'm here to clarify that in as simple terms as possible. So my purpose for doing all the Chinese medicine posts and offering the tools that I have are for really, I can't stress it enough that it's for people who might be at risk, because for example, in Chinatown, some of the stores are closing or they're delivering to professionals and doctors such as myself, to make sure that those in need are getting the herbs so that they can, like, rather than just people swarming and raiding the shelves, right? So in saying that, I think it's really important that if you do have an at-risk relative or friend or family or coworker or anything like that, or you yourself are immunocompromised or have pre-existing relatively severe conditions, even something as simple as asthma, you might want to, like existing lung conditions in that sense, you definitely might want to be like keeping your eye on these formulas, especially because, again, this seems like we're in a long haul here. So at least a few months, who knows, really, right? So it's best to get this out and get yourself familiar with this terrain, and that's what I'm here to help with. So the first line of defense, as I've said, is Jade Windscreen or Jade Shield. That is basically good for generally taking it anytime from now forever, well, through the duration of this, for anybody in the general public. If you feel like you might have, if you have to go out, let's just say, and you have to go get groceries, which is obviously something pretty common right now, but you feel like maybe you've been exposed somehow to someone coughing or anything like that, or air particles. Again, it does have to be transferred through someone coughing on you, like in relatively sustained contact. You can't just get it by walking past people on the street. But if you do feel like you're at risk, then yes, definitely, if you have Jade Shield or the St. Francis Steep Immune Tonic, which is essentially the same thing, boost up your dose, and just get the upper hand, because there is an incubation stage of around 4 days to a week, sometimes more or less. It depends on the sources. And if while the virus is incubating in you, if you do have contracted it, that is the exact moment where you should be taking these formulas, because that you're enhancing your immune system, you're getting it to have the upper hand, and your immune system will just continue to do its job, and squish down, and that's not really scientific, but like eradicate the virus from your system. So that's the point here, is we want to, if you're going to be exposed, you want to be a person who at least doesn't become full-blown infection with the COVID disease. So, and the same goes obviously for your at-risk friends and family. So if you do have an elderly, grandparents, that kind of thing, then they should be the ones kind of generally taking this first line before us more healthier people are. That's my recommendation. So just kind of get a little stockpile yourself, that kind of thing, and mail it to them before you keep it for yourself. Just to make sure that there's enough resources to go around in case this is, again, a long haul type situation. So that's Jade Shield, and then if you do feel like you have been infected, so that's the first one that it's in my Chinese medicine summary list. So, and again, there's in the next section that follows there's much more science and stuff to back that up. And I'll now that I'm kind of in the polishing stages of that resource page, I'll continue to dive deeper and deeper in myself and provide more and more solid, substantial scientific links. So the second, and I'll get to a bit of that at the end here too, but the second formula is called Gan Mao Ling. That one is generally for more established, where you can almost feel you might be getting sick, or again, as a preventative, like if you feel like you just got off accidentally exposed to public places or something like that. Gan Mao Ling is something you would take immediately as at the first signs of any type of infection, just to really, again, ramp up your immune system. You can take that alongside a formula called Yin Chow. Again, these will all be on my website. But Gan Mao Ling is a strong antiviral formula, and this is a virus, so that is what you want to be taking. But if you do want the upper hand and you want to be a little bit more prepared, taking it along Yin Chow is not, it won't hurt. But Gan Mao Ling, it's available in pills, teas, tinctures, like dissolvable powders. It's available in so many things online. I'm going to be spending this next stage of that document really pushing out, now that the information's collected, now I'll be pushing out distributors and where to get it and how I can help. So the information stage is up, but the next stages are more about what we can do here, since now, again, we're in the long haul. So Gan Mao Ling is especially for like those first signs where like you might have a chill, you feel that first wave. I'm pretty sure everybody knows what it feels like when you first get sick. There's that first like moment of like, uh-oh, like you may feel a tickle in your throat, any of those types of symptoms. That's when you take Gan Mao Ling, and you can take it alongside a ramped up dose of Jade Shield, Jade Windscreen, no problem. However, what's important here is in the third stage now of that document for the TCM treatment. The third stage is where it becomes an established infection. So now you do have like a case of the flu, even if it's the flu or anything like that. These are all still applied because Chinese medicine differentiates based on presentation. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but basically, when it comes to the third stage, when you have the full-blown illness, that's when you're going to stop taking Jade Shield. I mentioned that in my first video. Stop taking it, because now we want to be focusing on the killing stage rather than the boosting stage. That's traditional kind of logic. So stop taking Jade Shield at that point, but you can still take Genmaling, and then that's when you are definitely going to want to reach out to me or other healthcare practitioners to see what you can do at home to avoid, like obviously you'll be isolating yourself, but avoid getting into the more serious terrain where the illness is serious, right, or full blown. So while I can't, so that kind of wraps up those three stages. The third one is kind of cloudy for a reason, because in that article it's cloudy because that's when you want to be working alongside someone. And here's a caveat is, while I can't be 100% confident by saying this, because there is just no science in any front right now because it's such a new condition. So, but what I can say about with confidence is that these illnesses, as I said in my first video, have been around for centuries in different shapes, sizes, forms, right? Different strains of whatever it's been, and traditional cultures have always learned how to adapt and treat based on them. And so this isn't, while there's not necessarily science per se to show these being effective, my rebuttal here is, what other options do we really have? Really? Are you just going to, stay at home and hope for the best, right? When there are centuries worth of tools that do have actually some science backing to them, maybe perhaps not in this specific example right yet, because we haven't been able to do studies in a matter of months, but there are some coming out of China. But still, so if there's a skeptical aspect to it, but again, what reason to not have this is my point. There, you might as well, right? And I really confidently can say that it will and should dramatically reduce the recovery time, dramatically reduce the severity of symptoms, all these kinds of things if you're working alongside a trained TCM practitioner. So the first two stages of that TCM resource page, which I know can be intimidating for people, but basically those first two stages are things that you can do yourself. That's pretty straightforward. You can order those online, mail them to your grandparents, whatever. The third stage, that's where I really recommend working alongside a practitioner. So I'm repeating myself just to make sure it's super, super clear. And so from here, let me just check to my notes. So that's the Chinese medicine kind of side of things right there. Hopefully that's clear. Again, just to summarize though, my resources document there again, roostosky.com/COVID. It's really important that we all keep our heads screwed on. This is again tying back to my previous video, but it's really important that we keep our heads screwed on when it comes to posting sensationalist news, reading things without question and just posting a headline. There's so much misinformation going around out here, and I really, really implore you and really encourage you to become a bit of a scientist yourself, learn how it works, try to fact check your sources before you just post things. There's like fear-mongering is not really helping. I really strongly believe that. It's important to be cautious, so I'm not disagreeing with that, but it's also like, don't go off the deep end when we can take care of this. We can have it under control by keeping our heads screwed on more than panic mode, right? Panic doesn't really help anybody. So especially like when I'm getting into debates where people are posting that the highest window of people dying are in their 40s, that's just blatantly not true. It's just not true. So there's a lot of just untrue things. The death rate remains hovering around 1% of infected people, and most of those people have pre-existing health conditions. And in the case of Italy, for example, it's seeming as though the science is currently saying that actually people weren't necessarily dying from the flu. They were dying from their pre-existing health condition that was exacerbated by the flu. That's a pretty dramatic difference, right? So things are still in their infancy. The science is still in its infancy. So don't be so quick to add to this global panic and fear and buzz. So I provided a bunch of links. Just I know they can be databases that it can be intense or heavily science-based, but still, that's kind of like, if you can't really fact check things, then you shouldn't be participating. Basically, read your news for sure, but don't necessarily start to share and make incorrect things go viral. I really can't stress that enough. So yeah, so let's see. I think that's basically it. just want to stress again, what other preventative measures do we have? I'm starting to even raise an eyebrow about the medical system as a whole when not very still so little official statements or anything like that about prevention are being discussed, especially with things so powerful as Chinese medicine, especially when the Chinese themselves are really pushing out a lot of research on these fronts, and yet it remains quiet here. I can't help but raise a little eyebrow about that, but yeah, there are things we can do, and I'm going to do my best in the next days and weeks to come to really get myself set up on telehealth and like all these different types of services to really make sure that I have my shipping systems up and ready to run, as well as being much more available for you and your friends and family and loved ones and colleagues as we kind of get into this for the long haul, is what it seems. So my information stage collecting of this is done, and while I cannot claim to myself to be an expert, I feel like it really, really, really has sharpened my sword as I've gone deeper into both the science and the traditional Chinese medicine perspectives, trying to fill a hole that I haven't really seen very many people trying to fill. Which is the collection and consolidation of resources into one kind of like main page. I haven't really seen much of that. I'm just realizing I'm vibrating the phone around a lot by leaning on my knee here. So yeah, but to wrap this all up, keep this all in mind. I'm here for you. You'll still see me making posts and updates for sure. I might be posting a little bit less frequency now that it seems to be kind of coming into it a little bit of an equilibrium here in Canada. But please go outside as often as you can. Enjoy the fresh air. It's now spring. Exercise your lungs, use your lungs more, if now more than ever. So now's the time to really get out, go for a walk in the park, and enjoy the little signs of spring chi that are emerging from the earth. You don't want to miss it, and locked up in your home. You can go outside, unless obviously your government states that you can't. That's obvious, but in the meantime, enjoy it while you can. Especially these fine moments of spring. And I'm stressing that doesn't mean go to crowded places. You know what I mean. Walks with your kids around the block and stuff like that, or your backyard. And again, as I stressed in the previous video, I can't stress this enough. If now, especially with all the research and stuff coming out, that a lot of the people who have died from COVID are immunocompromised or have pre-existing health conditions, that type of thing. Now more than ever, I'm really encouraging you to really take a look at your health. Get exercising in your home or in your backyard. Start eating better. People are rating the pasta, but vegetables and things, these are eat healthy. Don't just think that this is apocalypse mode here. Now's a good chance to really support your local grocery stores, not the main ones. Of course, sometimes you need to go to the main ones, but now's a chance to go support your local businesses if you need, if they're open. Go get your produce from where other sources, that kind of thing. Eat healthy, and really take this as a chance to grow and to be those things that you've always wanted to be, or do those things you've always wanted to do. Could end up being a really major societal gift. So we'll see. But yeah, so stay tuned. I'll be up on telehealth and a number of services in the very near future, next day or two, to really get myself out there to be of service rather than just gathering information. So thanks so much for sticking in here for this 18-minute video. That's a little longer than I thought, but this should be a good one that should stand the test of time for the next couple weeks. So thanks a lot for reading and watching. And again, everything's available on my website, and stay tuned to my social media channels, especially my Inspired Living Warriors Facebook group. Okay, stay strong and healthy and inspired.